What's up, and welcome back to the Ramble On Podcast. It is the home of your 5-15, tied for last place in the A10 Loyola Chicago Ramblers. My name is Zach Coe, and I am joined, as always, by my five-star co-host, George Gabra. George, been a while since we last got together here on the podcast, obviously with my travel schedule, and then you had some work stuff crop up. We just weren't able to make the timeline up until tonight, and that's okay because there is not a whole lot to talk about here for this team. They've lost six straight. Yep, 5 since we last talked. Losses to Davidson, George Washington, George Mason, Dayton, and St. Bonaventure, and largely for all of these games, except for the first two against Davidson and George Washington, it has been the same story over and over and over again, where you fight hard in the first half, and then the second that the other team punches back in the second half, you fold like a lawn chair. But what are you thinking on this 6-game losing streak?
Well, bonjour, Zach. It's good to be back here recording. I wish it was under better circumstances and not a 6-game losing streak and 5-game losing streak since we last spoke. But just bad. I mean, we were both feeling pretty good. We were both feeling pretty confident. That game against Dayton, the first one anyway, where they were winning at home and they fell apart in the second half. We were still, even though that's a gut punch and it's a tough loss, we're still feeling pretty good about the team after that. And then you have the injuries pop up with Justin Moore, Xavier Amos, then Cade Dutson gets hurt in that game against Davidson. They've missed all 4 of the last games. I know Moore played for about 9 minutes in that game against George Washington, but other than that, those 3 guys have not been on the floor. They got dominated by Davidson at home. They got absolutely whooped against George Washington, 101-66, a 22-0 run to start the game. And then the last 3 games, you just said it, have been great first half, winning in the first half, all of them except for Dayton, and they were winning for most of that first half last Friday night against Dayton, and then they just completely fall apart, and they don't know how to finish. It seems like they forget how to play basketball in the second half. It seems like they might be fatigued, like the conditioning isn't there. I don't know what it is, but the first half of the last 3 games has been really good, really encouraging, and then all of it goes to waste because they just play the worst basketball you've ever seen in the second half. They completely collapse, and that's why we lost 6 games in a row.
Yeah, it's just so just to recap, starting with the first game, I was flying over to France on during that first game, so I fired it up on the plane, watched the entirety of that one. Obviously, the timing was all fucky over there, 6 hours ahead, so a lot of the games were at 2-3 in the morning for me over there, but I tried my best to watch. We got back on Saturday against it was a Saturday, right? The George Washington game.
Yep, that was Saturday.
Yeah, so we get back about 10-15 minutes before tip-off to our Airbnb on Saturday night. It was, I believe, a 9 p.m. tip-off local time in Paris, and we did a lot of walking. It was raining. I hopped in the shower and was like, all right, I'm going to lay in bed, watch this Loyola game. In the 5 minutes that it took me to shower and then get dressed and be ready to put the game on, it was 17-0 or thereabouts. So I promptly was too tired to continue watching and caught the highlights in the morning when I woke up. But obviously not a lot of highlights for the Ramblers. They allow 60 first half points to the Revolutionaries, which doesn't really even seem possible to give up 60 points in a half. Then as we continue on in my my journey of the New York City of Europe, derogatory, not complimentary. The George Mason game, similar. It was at 2 a.m. tip-off, so I didn't even attempt to wake up for that one. I caught it again in the morning. But great first half, and then you fall apart in the second half. You lead by double digits yet again, and find a way to lose. You give up 41 in both halves, leading to 82 points. 47 for you in the first half, but let's see.
They made Riley Allen Spock for George Mason look like Kobe Bryant at the end of that game.
Yeah, they and the ESPN box scores have started giving you a percent led at the bottom when you look at the team stats. And if you're looking for a laugh, go look at some of these percent led for Loyola, because in this one against George Mason, it was 75% led for
Yeah.
Loyola, and George Mason led for 17% of that game. Similar story in all the other ones, and I don't want to go game by game here and break them all down, because I think it's been 5 games, it's been 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
and as we've been saying, it's largely been the same performances. So I think we can have a little bit of a bigger picture discussion here about the team. And I understand that the injuries are the injuries. You have no Justin Moore, you have no Xavier Ramos up until this last game against St. Bonaventure, and then even then he started limping around and didn't play a whole lot in the second half. Alex Richardson, he's just getting back from that for that Bonaventure game as well. But like at a certain point, the guys that are out there need to perform, and it's simply not just fatigue. I think maybe you have that excuse in the George Mason game, but then after that, like you're just playing like shit in the second half. And for what reason? And I do want to get on some of these Drew quotes from after the St. Bonaventure game. It was by far the most candid I've ever heard Drew Valentine. And honestly, I feel bad for him. Like, I understand he's the guy that brought in these guys, but he sounded so defeated, and honestly, like we're trending towards dumpster fire territory with where we're at.
We really are, and that's a sad thing to say because we were trending that way, and then we got one win in the A10 play, and then we had one really close game against the Dayton team that everybody expected to be really good this year, and they've been decent, but since then in conference play, it's just been all downhill. There's been some bright spots, but the low lights have far outweighed the highlights here. The second halves have just been so brutal. You completely forget how well they played in the first half. It's been the same story over and over again. They're 1-6 in A10 play. They could very easily be 5-2 in A10 play if they could just play better down the stretch. Not even the entire second half. If they could just play better in the last 5 minutes of the game in crunch time when the lights are the brightest, it seems like they shrink. And when it's nervous time at the Forum, it seems like we're not the ones getting nervous. It seems like they're the ones getting nervous, and they just completely crash and burn. We've seen it time and time again, and that's just what bad basketball teams do, quite frankly. They can't finish. They can play well and they can have spurts, but when it's winning time and when it's time to lock up, play good defense, when it's time to get the ball to your best players and put the ball in the basket and win the game, they haven't been doing it. And I think that just goes to show this team isn't very good. I know we've gotten excited and we've flipped back and forth to see how this thing is going to go. And unfortunately, it hasn't gone the way we'd hoped for so far. And 1-6 in A10 play. I'll have boots on the ground here on Saturday. My parents are in town, so me, my parents, my sister, we're going to the game on Saturday against Duquesne. Hopefully that'll bring a little life to this team, but we'll see because they just look lifeless right now, and it's hard to watch them, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's incredibly frustrating to watch, and like honestly, like when it starts to happen, you kind of just know that, like, all right, well, this is where the run's coming for the other team. I went upstairs to make a grilled cheese and get some soup out of the pot at halftime of that St. Bonaventure game. It took me until a minute or two into the second half, and when I went back downstairs, I said to my parents, I was like, all right, I'm gonna go see how badly Loyola has blown this double-digit lead. And sure as shit, I come downstairs and they're losing, and St. Bonaventure is right in the middle of that 19-0 run that they ended up going on. We're going to harp a lot on the negatives here, but I do want to focus on a couple of the positives. Number one, Miles Rubin he's given it his all. Kamani Huinsu, he's given it all. I mean, shit, Kamani's playing on one leg out there and is looking like he's giving more effort than 80% of this roster right now. So credit to them. Nick Anderson has been really good offensively. I know Drew on Wednesday or Tuesday, whatever day we played, Tuesday,
yeah.
Yeah, Tuesday, said that he thinks Nick can be a little bit more physical on the defensive side of the ball, and the shot selection needs work, but it was a good first half. But like, to me, it goes back to some of the things we were talking about when Chuck Love was healthy, where it's just like, okay, like you're relying on Nick Anderson, a true freshman, to be a like key contributor for you here. And part of it is just the situation that your injuries have put yourself in, and another part of it is like he's a guy that wants to go out there and play, which like to me it's what makes the conversation around Drew Valentine and a potential hot seat so interesting, because clearly he still can find guys like Chuck Love, like Nick Anderson, that want to come in and want to play Loyola basketball. And unfortunately, it's just they're being asked to do too much in their first year. And it's a give and a take, because obviously you have a guy like Nick Anderson who's showing out now in these games now that he's getting the opportunity. It was 15 points against St. Bonaventure, 17 against George Mason, 12 against George Washington, 13 against Davidson. Obviously, he did not have a very good game at Dayton, and Drew said he looked like a freshman in that one. It's a tough place to play as a freshman. I'm not going to knock him for it. But like now we have to have the conversation of like, okay, like this season's a dumpster fire. We're 1-6 in conference play. We're 5-15 on a team that we all expected to be in the conversation for an at-large. So is now Nick Anderson and Chuck Love looking to explore their options? It's really a shitty situation, because right now, like the only three guys that I want on this team next year are Miles Rubin, Chuck Love, and Nick Anderson. Like I just don't know where you turn. So to me, like the eye for freshmen is still there, like clearly to me, but I just don't know where you go when you whiffed on 25% of your transfer portal.
That's the thing at this point. Still going to watch the game, still going to root for him, still going to hope that we can get some wins here and maybe turn it around a little bit, even though it's going to be tough to do at this point. But seeing the way that Nick Anderson has really come on here since A10 play started, Chuck Love, even though he's injured, before he got injured, he looked really good out there. And that was my first thought, and I texted you, was how can we get these guys to stay here next year? Because if they play this year, obviously it has not gone well in any way, shape, or form, and then they transfer out, what does that say about what's left of the Loyola culture, I guess, and guys wanting to stick it out and wanting to be Ramblers and wanting to play for the school? So that's something we got to keep an eye on. I'm certainly hoping that they want to stick around, because if you can have those three building blocks and Anderson, Love, and then obviously Miles Rubin, that's a really good starting point. And if you can nail on some of your other transfer guys that you're going to get through the portal next year, because obviously that's how it works. Guys are moving from school to school every year, it looks like. We'll see how it goes. But that's the big thing for me right now, is just seeing those guys progress. And hopefully Love is back sooner rather than later, and he gets back into form coming off the injury. And you were mentioning too, Drew, I mean, he was just brutally honest in his press conference after the loss on Tuesday night. He called out pretty much everybody aside from Miles and Kamani Huwinsu, and for good reason. A lot of these guys just aren't hustling. It doesn't look like they want to be out there. It doesn't look like they care if they give up a 19-0 run on the road against St. Bonaventure and completely blow a game that you should win, winning by 12 points at halftime. So it's rightfully so. Eventually, you got to take things from keeping it in-house to getting it out of house, because if they're not going to listen to you in the locker room behind closed doors, maybe they'll listen to you once you get your name kind of put through the mud here against the media. Because I mean, we all see it, we have eyes, we've seen what they've looked like, and it hasn't been good. And hopefully Drew calling them out put some sort of sense and put some sort of light some sort of fire here.
Yeah, also I want to throw Justin Moore in that mix of guys I want to see back next year. Forgot he had another year of eligibility. So yeah, he's only a junior. So those four guys are the ones that and Cade Dotson, I think, actually, because
that would be a nice starting five right there.
Yeah, exactly. So like there are pieces here. It's going to be about keeping them. And at this point, like I know I've switched my shirt. Usually I go with it's the Andrew Ragish shirt. He always tweets the picture of it. He just got a new one, the created by culture. I forget what it says, or whatever, something culture. I should know that off the top of my head because I wear it every game. But the culture is dead at this point. Like, which is why it's such an interesting discussion to me when you talk about Drew Valentine and where we go from here, because this is really the first year that there's been big contributors, or supposedly big contributors, from the transfer portal. Obviously, you get Sheldon Edwards, who immediately comes over from Valpo and ingratiates himself into the culture, but that doesn't always happen. And Des Watson, obviously, too. But aside from that, like it's been the perfect blend of guys that were recruited as freshmen and then mixed in with the transfer portal. And I think part of it is identifying the right guys, whether it be Jalen Deloach coming back from Georgia into the A10, or Damon Delacoon. I can't believe I almost forgot his name. I love Damon Delacoon, just a hard-nosed, fundamental big man. Des Watson, like mixing in with the Jaden Dawsons, the Jalen Quinns, etc. Like guys that come in and immediately ingratiate themselves into the culture and understand what it means to play Loyola basketball. And I don't know if I think Drew can identify those guys anymore. And I don't know that it really matters if he can, because do guys care anymore about coming into a team that has an established culture and an established way they want to play? Or is it truly just guys that are coming in and looking to make as much money as possible and then fuck off, essentially? Because that's what we've seen from guys. I mean, Dominic Harris is injured, and I don't have any inside sources as to if he's actually injured or what he's trying to do, but to me, it seems pretty cut and dry that this is a guy who was in the starting lineup the first however many games. Let me pull it up here. He plays 11 minutes in game 1, 10 minutes in game 2, and then after that, he doesn't play more than 7 minutes in the rest of the games, and then all of a sudden he's injured and exploring his options. This is a guy who we've harped on it time and time again, so I don't want to get bogged down on it, but 4th school in as many years, and next year he's going to be going to his 5th school in as many years. That should be sounding alarm bells from here on out in all of these guys' heads. And I know we brought up the AJ Storr example, and I think another one in football, not to break the cardinal sin of sports talk in cross sports, but Dylan Raiola is another one where he went to 4 different high schools, and he was committed to Ohio State, and then he was committed to Georgia, and then he went to Nebraska, and now he's going to Oregon. Like, to me, like, those are the guys that we need to avoid from here on out. Like Joshua Ola Joseph is another one who was a guy that we ripped on him, and he started to play a little bit better, and he was really the target of Drew's post-game comments. I mean, he said, like, and this isn't a direct quote, but it is as close as I can get, but he essentially said, like, you think guys are giving their all. Like, I don't think they're giving their all. Like, I think Josh Ola Joseph has more to give. Like, he can score, but it's just straight line drives, or like Day Wilk is crashing the offensive glass and you're standing there at the 3-point line, and he literally goes, dude, you have 3 rebounds. Like, it was about time that he said something about this. Like, he called out Daywell Tavares. He has more to give on the defensive side. He said that he thinks Nick Anderson has more to give on the defensive side. He said that this team lacks physical and mental toughness. I mean, it's all things, like you said, we all have eyes. We can all see it. And it's nice to see him finally say, like, this is not acceptable. And he's been saying it in not as many words throughout the course of the season, but for him to finally, like, this felt like a breaking point where he was just like, all right, enough is enough. Like, this team is mentally soft. They're mentally weak. And maybe them getting called out on a platform where more people are going to hear it than just, like you said, behind closed doors, that'll send a message. I don't think it's going to, but like, at this point, what else can he do?
It's something that we've said from the first game up until right now, is that we just don't think the effort's there. It doesn't look like they are going hard after rebounds. It doesn't look like they're hustling after loose balls on defense. Looks like they're lackadaisical. It's something that we've seen time and time again, pretty much in every game that they've played, and we've seen it they played 20 games, and I'd say we've seen that effort in pretty much all 20 games. So there are glimpses where it looks like they're fired up and they've got a lot of juice and a lot of energy, and they're really going at it, balls to the wall. But I think for more often than not, they're not playing as hard as they should be. And we're going to find out a lot about this team and over the next month and a half and the next 11 games. You're 1-6, you're 5-15. The season has not gone the way you had expected it to go at all. But now is the time where you can either roll over, give up, and win 2 games in conference and go 2-16 and make a laughing stock of the basketball team, the university as a whole, or it can say, you know what, hey, our coach just called us out. We look terrible. We're playing horrible. We're getting embarrassed in the second half of these games and games that we've been winning, and just losing, and people like Zach and George are saying they look horrible. People on other platforms are saying they're soft. They don't look good. You got to take that and you got to use that and you got to go out there and play hard. If you go out there and play hard and you lose, then so be it. But if you go out there, you give a half-assed effort and then you're blowing games left and right in the second half and you're looking up like wondering what happened. Well, I'll tell you what happened. You're not running after loose balls. You're not going after rebounds. You're being lackadaisical on defense, like those three things and a lot more things. It's just they got to play better. They got to play with more intensity. And hopefully Drew woke him up there, because if that's not going to wake you up, nothing will. This team's going to win 2 or 3 games, maybe even 1 game in conference play. And it's going to be the worst season for Loyola basketball in over a decade.
Yeah, and honestly, at this point, I think that's what we're trending towards. There's been nothing about this team unless they can get healthy and healthy enough to contribute. Like to me, like at a certain point, like what is it even worth it for Cade Dotson to rush back from his, I think it's a shin ailment or an Achilles ailment. I forget exactly what he said, but it's something that was like a nagging injury. But like, what is the point of trying to force your way back for this type of season? And honestly, all those things that you mentioned and Drew mentioned, lack of physical and mental toughness, lack of intensity on the defensive end, not hustling after loose balls. These were all characteristics of the Loyola teams that we've been watching since 2017. It's just all completely gone out the wayside, which leads me to say that the culture is dead. Like there is what semblance of a culture is left in today's NIL era. Right now there is none. None of these guys, aside from like the few guys that we mentioned, I think Nick Anderson, I think Chuck Love, I think Miles Kamani, Justin Moore, and Cade Dotson have bought into the culture, have bought into what it means to play Loyola basketball. And unfortunately, 3 of those guys are hurt. So it's they can't even do it on the floor. Like, so I just don't know where they go from here, which I guess is all to say I think they're probably going to lose out the rest of the way. It's gut check time for this team, but nothing about anything that they've shown us in the first 20 games of the season has shown me that they're going to take this gut check and say, we've got to turn it around and we've got to figure it out. Like there isn't anything about what they've done, and specifically the guys who are having to play in increased minutes, because I think ordinarily we've seen Drew, we just talked about Dom Harris. We've seen Drew say, okay, you want to go out there and you want to give it 25%, you're not going to play. And I think we would be seeing that with guys like JOJ, with guys like Daywilk, who don't want to give it their all on the defensive end. Unfortunately, the injury situation just doesn't permit that. I mean, Caleb Reese had to play the entire second half against St. Bonaventure, and this is no disrespect to Caleb Reese, who's a glue guy, but he's a walk-on, and he's limited offensively, especially. I mean, I saw someone say it on Twitter, but they're essentially playing 5-on-4 on offense every time that they have the ball with Caleb Reese out there. And it's just, but at a certain point, the injury excuse runs out. The guys that are out there have to play better. Like Daywilk, his shot selection is fucking an abomination. He gets the ball and just lets it rip no matter where he is on the floor. It's a guy that I was so excited about. And I never imagined that his shot selection would be this bad, but he gets the ball and he lets it bark. Same can be said for JOJ. He just hangs out around the 3-point line and just lets it bark whenever he touches it there. And if on the rare occasions he crashes the glass and gets an offensive rebound, he blows a bunny. So I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we were mentioning the record and what we think we're going to go here. If you want to indulge me here for a quick second, I'm just going to read off the last 11 games here. Why don't you give me win-loss for these 11 and we can make a prediction here, because it sounds like we both have them winning. I've said 2 or 3. You said maybe 1, so I'll read them off for you here, and we'll see what the record's going to be. All right, so Duquesne Saturday at home, win or loss?
Loss.
I'm also going to say, you know what? I'm going to say win there, because I'm going to have boots on the ground for that one.
Boots on the ground. I'll change mine to win for that as well.
So we got 2 wins there, or we both have them winning that game. Versus St. Joe's.
Loss.
Okay, at VCU next Friday night.
They might lose by 50. They just beat Dayton, the team that you haven't been able to beat, so loss.
Yep, I don't think they're going to win that one. At Davidson.
Loss.
Yep, I agree. Versus St. Louis.
That's another one. They might lose by 60. What did St. Louis played that D3 team and won like 115-40? It might be uglier than that.
Yeah. They might lose that game so bad that it might count for 2 losses, but
Yeah,
yeah, I've got a loss there. At Fordham,
a loss.
I'm gonna go win there. Fordham's not very good. I think they're gonna win that one. At St. Joe's
Loss.
versus Richmond.
Loss.
Okay, sorry, I keep forgetting to say my at St. Joe's loss versus Richmond. I've also got as a loss. I can pretty much guess where you're going here, but at St. Louis.
Yep, also loss.
Okay, and then I also have a loss there. The last regular season game versus George Washington at home.
Loss.
I also have a loss. So you have them finishing 1-10. I've got them finishing 2-9. So
Things are going well.
not good. Not good.
And
I
guess that's all. Go ahead, you can.
go. Okay, I just wanted to touch on too real quick. You mentioned Drew saying that this team is physically and mentally like they're weak. If your head coach says that about you, like how are you not just embarrassed? Like how are you
They should be.
thinking to yourself? Yeah, I mean, if I was playing D1 basketball and my head coach said, "Yeah, this guy's physically, mentally, he's weak. His effort's not there. Like he's just if that those are the kind of words that make you think, okay, like I need to get my shit together. Like I need to turn it around and I need to start busting my ass here because that's a bad look on me. It's a bad look on my team. And if they're not thinking that at this point, then again, we can maybe take the 2 wins that I have and the 1 win you have and make them both donuts.
Yeah, I mean, like, obviously, like, Drew in the last injury update we got, or the last complete injury update we got, he was saying that hopefully by February, we're back to full strength. And again, like, I rattled off the 5 or so guys that I want to see back here next year. Chuck, Nick Anderson, Miles, Justin Moore, Cade Dotson, 5 guys. Like, obviously, 2 of those guys are out. Or 3 of those guys are out, and Cade Dotson, so 6. Or did I say him? I guess, let me do it again. Jesus. Zach versus math. Zach versus counting is not going well. Miles, Cade Dotson, Justin Moore, Nick Anderson, and so 5. Yeah, 5. Those 5 guys, 3 of them are hurt. And like,
I agree
obviously,
with you there.
yeah. Like, so like you're going to get some of those guys back and maybe that gives you a boost and maybe it's leaving guy, but who plays over JOJ? Like, I guess Xavier Amos, but he came back and he tried it and he wasn't 100%. He wasn't able to go in the second half. And even Drew, Amos was mentioned in the guys that he thinks can play harder. Like he said, if Amos is going to be out there, I think he has more to give. And like you said, it's if your head coach is saying, like, this guy has more to give, this guy isn't giving me his effort, like that should be like, shit, I've got to get my shit together. And newsflash to all these guys that are thinking they're going to transfer somewhere else, who the fuck is going to take you? Like, where, like, seriously, where do you think you're going? Like, unless you're just looking to get a bag and like at this point, all these guys have to be going lower than the A10. So enjoy 100%. The Missouri. Yeah,
you're looking at
get ready to learn Missouri Valley, buddy.
Or the NEC, the NEC,
yeah,
or the MAC.
They're all going to Sacred Heart with
Metropolitan Atlantic Athletic Conference. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if they keep playing like this and they think they're going to make more money or they're going to a better opportunity somewhere else, they're going to be very surprised and probably pretty upset when the transfer portal opens because nobody that's at a higher level, certainly not in the Power 5, and nobody at the higher mid-major level in the A10, the Mountain West, the American conferences like that are going to look at the film here and look at the tape and say, oh, yeah, we could use that guy on our team next year. It's been very disappointing and it's a bummer. And the fact that we're already talking about next season and it's January 22nd is kind of tells you, I think, where our heads are at with this team and where I think a lot of people's heads are at with this team right now.
Yeah, and it's tough because like I truly, like, I listened to Drew with Sudi on Tuesday and was like, oh my God, like I just feel bad for him. Like Drew cares. Like, say whatever you will about his coaching staff, his schemes, this, that, and the other thing. Say whatever you will of the ability to recruit in the transfer portal and how much faith you have in him to do that in the new era of college basketball. But he cares. And you can tell that in his voice. You can tell that in what he's saying to Sudi. You can tell that he just doesn't know what to do. And it's something that we've heard CT say when they're on the road, they sit in on the film sessions and he says, like, it's like the coaching staff is giving them the answers to the test and they just don't care. Like so it's frustrating to me. And it comes back to the larger question of where do you go from here? Because ultimately I do think this is the guy that put together this team. And I think that a lack of physical and mental toughness is ultimately a reflection on the head coach. Like you never would have said that about a Bill Belichick Patriots team. You never would have said that about any other countless number of teams, that they lack physical and mental toughness. And I think that's a reflection on the coach. They take on the personality of the coach. But that also hasn't been a characteristic of previous Loyola teams under Drew. Like they've always been a team, even in the seasons where that first season in the A10 where they won however many games, finished in last, the bottom fell out. I don't think that was because of lack of physical and mental toughness. I don't think that was because of a lack of caring or a lack of trying. I just think that they simply didn't have the skill set, didn't have the personnel to compete in the A10. And like that's fine. It was the first year there, so it's really difficult for me to like kind of figure out where they go. And like ultimately, I guess I'm glad I'm not the guy making a decision. And it doesn't make for good radio to say I don't know what you do. But at this point, I really don't know what you do.
Yep, I don't either. It's a bummer, and hoping they can turn it around, but that's all I think we have now is hope, and hopefully they listen to their coach, rip them apart, rip them to shreds on Tuesday night, and they come out with some more intensity on Saturday. But other than that, I really don't have much more to say aside from season has not been good. It's not been very fun at all, and hopefully they can turn it around. But I think both of us, at this point, our hope is not too high.
No, yeah, like I mean, we did the exercise. We went through the rest of the schedule. We both have them winning one or two more games. So, yeah,
Yeah.
at this point, it's just sucks that this is what it's come to because we've said it over and over again. We both had them going 20 whatever and like 5. So
Hmm.
like that at this point we'll be lucky to go 5 and 20 whatever. But yeah, I know you got to get to dinner with your parents ahead of boots on the ground on Saturday. So we've got 2 losses to preview here. Oh no, 1 win actually. I forgot.
One win.
Boots on the
Yeah.
ground. Yeah, the boots on the ground boost against the Dukes of Duquesne Saturday afternoon, 1:00 Central at Gentile. What do you got on the Dukes?
They enter this game at 10-9 with a 2-4 record in A10 play, coming off a close loss in a fight against St. Louis Tuesday night at home. Only lost that game by 4 points. They are 156th in the net ranking, 10th in the net in the A10. Ken Palm, they are coming in at 128th. Offensive rating of 128, defensive rating of 148. 2 guys on this team that stand out in terms of putting up a lot of points are Terrence Ginyard. He's averaging 16.1 points per game. Jimmy Williams is averaging 16 a game. They have led the way in scoring so far for that backcourt. Ginyard, he leads the team, and sorry if I'm pronouncing that name wrong, but he's leading the team in assists with 5.3 a game, and Williams leads the team with 1.7 steals per game. This is opponent offense. They average 82.2 points per game, which is good for 57th in the country. They play at a very fast pace, ranking 24th in possessions per game. While the offense has been great, the defense has not been. They rank 286th in the country, allowing 79.5 points per game. So hopefully we get a little healthier here for this game, but no real updates as of now, or excuse me, Thursday night for this recording. This is a team that we should be able to beat, regardless of health statuses for Moore and Dotson. And we'll see Amos. I know he was out there a little bit on Tuesday night, but we'll see what he's looking like. And we've shown we can compete with teams of this quality with those injuries. We just have to play a full 40 minutes, and that's something that we obviously have not done in the last 6 games that we've lost in a row, and the last 3 games, the second half, where we just completely crash and burn. So we'll see what happens here, but again, we picked this game as a win just because of the boots on the ground boost, as you said. I like that term, but we're going to have to play a lot better than we've been playing, especially in the second half, to pull this one off.
Yeah, and the one thing to me that sticks out about Duquesne is, like you said, they run at a fast pace and they have a potent offense. And what kind of propelled St. Bonaventure on Tuesday in that 19-0 run was points in transition. They put up 27 points on the fast break, 21 off turnovers. And it's just guys, it's like Drew said, it's mental and physical weakness. It's a lack of mental fortitude. It's a lack of toughness. You turn the ball over and you're sitting there and you're slapping your hands together and you're hanging your head and you're not getting back on defense. This is a team that likes to run. They like to play at a fast pace. They fill up the box score. This is not a recipe for you to bounce back, because all of the things that they do, the few things that they do well, you do incredibly poorly. So I know we both picked it as a win because you're going to the game and we got boots on ground, but I do worry that if that message wasn't received of like, we have to defend better in transition, that this is just going to be another double digit loss. And I'm going to try out a new system play on Saturday where I take them on the spread first half and then roll that money over into the other team second half.
That
Because
is a
like
good
that's what,
system the
yeah.
last few games. That's a winner right there.
Yeah, that's what it's proven to be. So that's where my concerns are against Duquesne. Like if it isn't message received, like a team that likes to run this fast, obviously the defense isn't great, but fucking Mercyhurst doesn't have a great defense. They don't have a great offense. Cleveland State, they don't have a good defense. They don't have a good offense. All these teams that you've lost to that you're better than. Northern Illinois, or should be better than, rather. We've proven that we are not better than any of those teams. But like it's just like you turn the ball over because you're careless, because you don't care, because it looks like you just got your bag and you are, like we said, and you're done. Like you got paid and that's it. So I just don't. I don't. It's hard for me to talk with any type of positivity other than boots on the ground. So that should
Yeah.
give them a boost. Like it's
Yeah.
just like I
I
said,
mean,
what they do well, you do poorly.
yeah. What we got to do here, I think, try and slow them down. I know they're a fast-paced offense. Slow them down. Slow your offense down. Try and make this a rock fight. Try and get them into the mud. And I think that's the best chance you have to win this game. Try and get them out of their element. Get into a slower pace game at home. And I think if you can do that, you got a chance to win. But if this is a track meet, I think it could get ugly. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, Mercyhurst, I use that as the example. You lose by 8 points to Mercyhurst in a game in which you give up, I guess it actually wasn't you, 17 points off of turnovers in that one. So,
Hmm.
like I said, where Mercyhurst right now ranks, so I just had it in front of me and now I lost it on KenPom. Let me just grab it again. 299 in the KenPom, 213th defensive rating. Like these are bad teams that you're turning the
Hmm.
ball over double digit times to. So I don't think it matters that if you have a bad defense, like, oh, like maybe they can score with them. No, they'll give the ball away with the best of them. And and now I'm looking at the schedule and I see these two wins against Santa Clara and Rhode Island, and think of how high we were riding off of those games. We were like,
Yeah.
this is the turning point. Like this is maybe we're gonna get it together for conference play. And I know people on Twitter were saying it too. People were like, like not neutral A10 fans, but other A10 fans were like, Loyola's going to fuck around and win like 10, 12 games in conference play and fuck up a lot of teams' seasons. It's like, no, they are not. Like, I mean, they
They're
had
not.
two opportunities to fuck up Dayton's season, and they should be 2-0 against Dayton, and they're just simply not, because they don't care and they can't finish. So yeah, like I said, I feel like I'm kind of talking in circles. I think that if you weren't going to the game on Saturday, I'd have this one as a loss.
I think I would too. So hopefully us being there will be something, but we'll
Yeah.
see.
Alrighty, let's move on to this next one against St. Joe's on Tuesday night. Former Boston College head coach, I forget his fucking name, but he's out there after Billy Lang jumped ship for the NBA. But what do you got on the Hawks besides that the Hawk will never die?
Well, that is true. He will be flapping his wings here. The Hawks, they come into this game at 11-8, 3-3 in conference play. This has kind of been a rebuilding season for St. Joe's because they lost their three best players, their big three from a season ago last year, in Xavier Brown, Eric Reynolds, and Rasheer Fleming. They come in 193rd in the net, 11th in the A10. Ken Palm, they are 172nd. Offensive rating of 248, defensive rating of 108. They played Dayton on Saturday before the matchup with us this coming Tuesday. Leading scorer for St. Joe's early in the season was Deuce Jones, who is no longer on the team. So Jaden Glover, Toscano, and Derek Simpson, they are the guys who are going to lead the way for the Hawks here in this one. They are scoring a combined 27.8 points per game. The opposite of St. Joe's is true in terms of offense and defense compared to Duquesne. The Hawks are a medium-paced team, but they rank 241st in points per game at just 72.2. They're in the middle of the pack in scoring defense at 158th. And one thing that I think we got to try and take advantage of here is winning the three-point battle, because this is one of the worst three-point shooting teams in the country. They're shooting a measly 28.2%, which is 349th in the country. If we can win the 3-point battle, I think that'll be our best chance to win this one. But again, this is, even though it's at home and this is more of a rebuilding year for St. Joe's, who's usually towards the top of the A10, not in the middle, I think this is going to be a tough game.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about that. St. Joe's, their head coach abandons them right before the season is set to start. Lose your three best players from last year, and everyone kind of looked at them as a little bit of the laughing stock of the A10, a team that was going to be down, a team that is usually towards the top of the league, going to be towards the bottom, and they find themselves with all of those circumstances, with their head coach abandoning them, guys jumping ship. Xavier, what's his name? Xavier Brown.
Brown.
Yeah, Xavier
I think
Brown.
he's
Yeah,
playing for Oklahoma
yeah,
and
that's
Porter
what. Yeah,
Moser.
heading to Oklahoma, joining Porter. Rasheer Fleming, almost a Celtic in the NBA draft. I forget who it was that jumped up and picked him, but one of my buddies at work, who's the Celtics beat reporter, said that they were targeting him before they got jumped. It's just how the mighty have fallen here with the Ramblers. Like you said, like they're one of the worst 3-point shooting teams in the country at 28.2%. But where are you? Like that's kind of what I come back to in all of this. Like I have it in front of me right here. You're 308 at 31.3% in 3-point shooting. So like take the under in this one.
Yeah.
Take the under. Both of these teams fucking stink. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to be optimistic about anything. Like even if on paper you should be more talented than St. Joe's. Steve Donahue's the name I was looking for, former BC head coach. Like it's just hard to say anything. Like if you, again, I guess it's going to be this game on Saturday against Duquesne is going to tell us how the rest of the season's going to go. If they come out and look like they had that shit gut check moments, then maybe this is a game that you can win. If not, I find it hard to believe that you're going to have a chance in really any of these games the rest of the way. So I have a loss here.
I also have a loss. So 1-1 for me. I think to win this game, that St. Joe's is a very good rebounding team, and they've got some guys who can score in the paint. So being able to crash the glass, prevent second chances while creating second chances of our own, that's going to give us a chance to win this game. But as we've seen time and time again this season, and as Drew rightfully pointed out on Tuesday night, they have not done any of those things very well pretty much all season long. So unless that's changes on a dime here, I see this one as a loss.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure JOJ is going to be really crashing the glass in that one. Sure, he's gonna be all over it and just fucking ripping threes and standing around the perimeter when he misses them.
Yep.
Yeah, it's unfortunate and it sucks because like if you're Miles Rubin, you're sitting here and he said in I believe it was with the Field of 64 or whatever it is. I don't know why I'm just blanking on all these names of things that I should know.
I think it's
The
Field of 68, right?
Yeah. Jesus, yeah. Yeah, I mean, this team is just, they've beaten me down. That's what it's come down to. This
Same
team has
here.
beaten me down. Like for Miles, he got asked, why'd you stay? And he simply said, there was no reason for me to leave. Well, Miles, I think maybe there is a reason for you to leave at the end of this year. And it sucks to say, but like, I hope they can find a way to keep him 2 years in a row. It seems like it's going to be an uphill battle, especially if there is a coaching change, which like the one thing that gives me hope for the future of the program, and obviously I don't want to get too doom and gloom, was that the Field of 68 did a poll for the A10 coaching jobs, like how you would rank them, and Loyola was, I want to say third or fourth. They were right up there.
I'd say them, probably
four.
them, Dayton and St. Louis and VCU.
Those are the four. Number one, Dayton. Number two, VCU. Number three, St. Louis. Number four, you. So like that gives me hope.
Makes sense.
The investment level is there. We know what they're rumored to be spending on NIL, and I think that enough. And I think we know that this level of investment is going to be unacceptable to the administration and the people that are cutting the checks. So I'm hopeful, but I'm not hopeful for the rest of the season. I'm hopeful for next year.
Yep, I think that's where I'm at too. We'll see what happens Saturday. I'm hoping to go watch a win, and we'll see what happens on Tuesday at home as well against St. Joe's. 2 home games. Hopefully the students come out and the crowd comes out and everybody's fired up and we can maybe get these guys going. But again, I'm not super hopeful, and maybe they'll surprise us. But again, I don't think they will, and it's just they've been that kind of year.
Yeah, just my final thought, once again, the Dayton Flyers are the biggest losers in college basketball. You have Deshane Montgomery, who's walking in the middle of huddles, playing fake tough guy after the game when you have 7 guys out injured. It's just, and I forget who it was on the sideline, on the baseline, like right by the Loyola bench. He tried to get into it with Kamani and gets teed up. It might have been Montgomery there too. Like they take on like I talked about teams taking on the personality of their head coach and how that's not really characteristic of what we've seen from Drew Valentine coach teams. But Anthony Grant's a bitch and his team is bitch made. Like, and we saw them get bitched by LaSalle, who in those coaching rankings was ranked the worst job in the A10. Like in their season just got ruined by LaSalle. It should have been ruined twice by you, but you can't finish. So yeah, I don't want to go on my whole Dayton rant again, but there's a reason why they are always hyped up and, oh, we belong in the Big East. We belong here. We belong there. And then they continuously shit themselves when it matters most. Aside from hanging tough with Arizona in the second round to a 10-point loss 2 years ago.
2024. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, tip-off was delayed at UD Arena for the banner ceremony for that one. Against Loyola, but the fact that guy was back in our replies is like, talk about rent free. Doesn't funny. Follow us, doesn't anything. Yeah. But yeah, so that's my final thought, is that at least Dayton's season is ruined because that team is full of losers.
I agree. I'm glad Dayton, the ship's going down there after losing to LaSalle. You lose to LaSalle and you have any sort of expectations going into that game, and then you lose, you better get rid of all those expectations and expect the rest of the year to be pretty rough.
Yeah, and they had that Dayton game was the one where that guy had the transition dunk and just like hammered it off the back iron, right?
I think so, yeah.
I feel like I think I remember we definitely texted about like, nice dunk, idiot. Like that was definitely something that was said in our text messages. I'm pretty sure that was the Dayton game.
Okay.
But I don't know if you have any other final thoughts. That's all I got is I'm glad Dayton's season is over.
Yep. I'm just going to keep watching, hoping, praying, seeing what we do. Maybe we'll get better. I don't think we will. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. So go out there, play hard. And that's really all you can ask at this point.
Yep. Yeah. Gut check time for the Ramblers. I don't think gut check in terms of turning your season around. That's already a loss, but in showing pride in the name on the front of the jersey, and hell, at this point, the name on the back of the jersey, because like we said, none of these guys are going to be getting very lucrative offers to go play anywhere else other than the NEC and the MAC and the Southland, or take your pick of these bottom feeder conferences. Because
the Big South.
They don't, yeah, yep, all of them. A Big Sky, what have you. We don't need to name all the conferences. But that'll do it from us. We'll be back at you next Wednesday or Thursday ahead of the next week of Loyola losses. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're hanging in here with us, you're just as big of a junkie for this team as we are, and for that we are very appreciative. Make sure to give us a follow on all of the socials. You can find the podcast at Ramble On Pod on Twitter, me at @co_Zach, George at GG Gabra. On TikTok, we are Ramble On Pod _. George is at GGG Sports, and I am @co_Zach. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.